The silence you kept will speak louder than any reply. That's the hard truth, my friends. They thought you'd crumble the moment your phone lit up, that all it would take was a little hey or a random excuse at midnight to drag you back into their orbit. But what happens when the game changes? What happens when silence becomes your power instead of your prison? That's what we're diving into today. So before we begin, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me till the end, because what I'm about to share might just flip the whole script of your life. Hey folks, imagine this. You've just come out of a storm, weeks, maybe months of emptiness, of staring at your phone like it was some kind of shrine, waiting for their name to appear. And then one night, it happens. Ping. A message. That name you thought you buried suddenly flashes on your screen. Your chest tightens, your mind races, your heart does that stupid little jump, and in that moment you feel as if time has rewound itself. But let me tell you something, my friends. What feels like fate is often nothing more than bait. Here's the lie they want you to believe. They messaged you because they miss you, because they love you, because they've changed. But no, 9 times out of 10, it's not love, it's ego, it's boredom dressed up as nostalgia, it's validation hunting for its next meal. Like a fisherman throwing a hook into the water, they're just checking if you'll bite. And the moment you bite, they know they still own a piece of you. Think about it. If someone truly missed you, truly regretted losing you, would they come back with a half-baked hey? Or would they show up with honesty, with clarity, with actions that match their words? My friends, hey is not an apology. I thought of you is not accountability. And nostalgia is a liar. It paints yesterday with golden colors and hides the scars you bled to get here. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When that notification pops up, you're being tested, not just by them, but by yourself. Will you give your power away again? Will you go back to being the version of you that begged for scraps? Or will you stand firm, silent, unshaken, and let time do the talking for you?" Let me throw in a little humor here. Replying to that midnight hey is like answering the door at 3 a.m. when someone knocks and says, "I was just in the neighborhood." No context, no explanation, just chaos in a hoodie. And you? You're supposed to roll out the red carpet? Come on, folks, you deserve more than being somebody's casual pit stop. Picture it like a chessboard. Every move has meaning. The impatient player rushes, reacts, makes emotional moves, and loses. The disciplined one waits, observes, holds silence like a sword. That's you now. Calm, collected, unreachable. And in this game, your silence isn't just absence, it's checkmate. So I want you to see that text not as a gift, but as a test of your growth, your discipline, your ability to finally say, "My peace is worth more than your curiosity." Because that's what this really is, curiosity. They want to know if they can still reach you, if you'll still fold, if you'll still play their game. And your job, my friends, is to show them that the game has changed. This isn't about revenge. It's about evolution. It's about realizing that every second you hold back from reacting is a second you prove to yourself how far you've come. Your silence isn't empty. It's full of dignity. It's full of self-respect. It's the sound of your old wounds finally healing. So next time that notification lights up your screen, don't panic, don't rush, don't let your heart trick your mind. Breathe. Remember who you've become, and tell yourself this: I choose peace over panic. Write that down in the comments right now. I choose peace over panic. Stay with me, my friends, because in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to reply or not reply in a way that doesn't just protect your heart, but shatters their ego. Number 1, they text you after silence. It's not innocent, it's a test. Not every knock at your door deserves to be opened. That's the truth most people don't want to face. When they finally text you after weeks or months of silence, it doesn't always mean they miss you. It doesn't always mean love has returned. Most of the time, it means ego is restless, curiosity is burning, or boredom has come to collect a debt. They didn't message you because they suddenly realized your worth. They messaged you because they want to see if they still control it. Imagine it like this, my friends. Picture a locked door in your house. You shut it because what was behind it once brought you nothing but pain, mess, chaos, broken promises. And then, one day, you hear a knock. Not a polite knock, not a visitor with flowers, but a faint, careless tapping. No introduction, no explanation, just noise. Do you fling that door wide open again just because someone's knocking? Or do you remember why you locked it in the first place? That's exactly what a text after silence is. A knock on a door you fought hard to close. But here's the fear that creeps in. If I don't answer, they'll think I don't care. If I ignore it, I'll look cold. Maybe this is my only chance to get them back. That's how your mind tries to trick you, because deep down, you remember the times you begged for their attention, the nights you cried for their presence, the mornings you woke up wishing they'd reach out. And now that they finally do, every part of your body wants to believe it means something. But pause for a second. Ask yourself, if they truly missed you, if they truly valued you, why did it take so long? Why was their silence so loud when you needed them most? My friends, the hard truth is this. People don't vanish out of love. They vanish out of comfort, selfishness, or because they never feared losing you in the first place. And when they return, most of the time, it's not because they've changed. It's because something in their world feels empty, and they want to see if you'll still fill it. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free," and bravery here means resisting the urge to jump back into the same fire you barely escaped. It means looking at that message and recognizing it for what it is. Not an invitation, but an experiment. They're not reaching out to rebuild the bridge. They're tapping to see if the bridge is still standing, if you've kept it intact, waiting for them. Think of it like a fisherman casting a line. They don't care which fish bites, as long as something does. That casual "hey" or "I thought of you" is bait. And you, my friends, are the one deciding whether you'll bite or not. Most people do because they confuse a message with intention. They think words equal love, but words without actions are just smoke. And smoke, as you know, disappears the moment the wind changes. Why is it so difficult to resist? Because your brain remembers the high. It remembers the laughter, the closeness, the warmth you once felt with them. Nostalgia is the drug that poisons your clarity. It whispers lies. This time, it's different. This time, they really mean it. But if you strip away the emotion, what are you left with? Just pixels on a screen. Just a few words that cost them nothing but could cost you your peace. Here's the lie you must break today, that their return equals regret. No, my friends, most returns equal ego. Ego bruised by your absence. Ego starved because you didn't chase. Ego curious about whether you've moved on. They want to see if they still matter to you, not if they can matter for you. And there's a big difference. Think of silence as a mirror. When you don't reply, when you don't rush, you force them to face themselves. Their reflection in that mirror is uncomfortable. They start asking, "Did I lose them? Are they seeing someone else? Did my silence finally break the bond I thought was unshakable?" And that's when the power shifts. Not because you played a game, but because you refuse to. It's natural to feel fear in that moment. Fear that ignoring them means you've lost them forever. But let's be honest, didn't they already show you what forever meant to them when they vanished? If someone truly valued your presence, would they risk it so easily? My friends, if you lose someone by protecting your dignity, you've lost nothing. But if you lose your dignity to keep someone, you've lost everything. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This is where you apply that wisdom. Their text is the event. Your reply or your silence is the choice. That's where your control lies. Not in changing them, but in mastering yourself. And yes, it will be difficult, because every fiber of your being wants to react. Because silence feels unnatural when your emotions scream for release. But difficulty is proof that growth is happening. If silence was easy, it wouldn't mean anything. It's the weight of discipline that makes your absence powerful. So here's your mantra, your shield. I respond to clarity, not to curiosity. Write that in the comments right now. Show the world that you've grown. Show yourself that you're not the same person who used to crumble at every late-night message. Show them that your silence has built something unshakable, self-respect. And remember, this isn't about revenge. It's not about making them suffer. It's about proving to yourself that you no longer give away access so cheaply, that your presence is valuable, that your silence is not emptiness, but strategy. You've become the person who knows that not every knock deserves an answer, not every message deserves a reply, not every reappearance deserves a second chance. Stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to reveal what really happens inside their mind when you don't rush to answer. That slow unraveling, that ego collapse, that silent panic. And trust me, folks, once you understand that, you'll never look at a sudden "hey" the same way again. Number 2. The trap of immediate reaction. He who jumps at every sound is a prisoner of his own nerves. Think about that for a moment, my friends. They text you after weeks of silence, and your first instinct is to move, to rush, to grab the phone and type back faster than your thoughts can catch up. That instinct, that split second of urgency, is the exact trap that keeps people chained to the same cycle of hurt over and over again. Because what feels like connection in the moment is often nothing but a test of your availability. And every time you reply too quickly, you confirm one thing: they still have you. Picture this with me. Imagine a dog that's been trained with a whistle. Every time the whistle blows, it runs. It doesn't matter if it's hungry, tired, or resting. The sound controls it. Now ask yourself, is that dog free, or is it conditioned? My friends, when you rush to reply the instant your phone buzzes with their name, you're that dog responding to the whistle. You're proving to them, and worse, proving to yourself, that you're still conditioned by their presence. And here's the thing, they expect it. They expect you to be sitting there, waiting, eager. They count on the old version of you, the one who sacrificed sleep, dignity, and peace just to answer immediately, hoping that fast response would make them stay. But where did that get you before? Did your urgency ever earn their respect? Did your instant replies stop them from disappearing? No. If anything, it taught them that they could vanish and still return to the same loyal reaction, like nothing happened. Let's get real for a second, folks. They didn't spend weeks worrying about how their silence made you feel. They weren't pacing the room, asking themselves if you were okay. They were fine without you, and now they want to see if you're still not fine without them. That's the cruel psychology of it. They vanish to feel power, and they return to confirm it's still intact. And your speed, your urgency, is the measurement. Here's the lie your heart whispers in those moments. If I don't reply instantly, they'll think I don't care. But let's break that down. Did they care when they ignored you? Did they care when you waited in silence, staring at a phone that stayed dark for weeks? Care is shown in consistency, not in a sudden spark of curiosity. And rushing to reply doesn't prove your value, it proves your availability. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you're playing chess. A beginner moves quickly, reacting to every piece that shifts on the board. They think speed will protect them, but what really happens? They fall into traps. They overlook strategy. They lose control of the game. Meanwhile, the master moves with patience. Every pause builds pressure. Every delay creates doubt in the opponent's mind. That's what you must become, a master of your own timing. Because in the game of relationships, speed is not power. Control of tempo is. Think of how many times you've regretted a fast reply. How many times you've sent that long message, pouring your heart out, only to be met with silence again. How many times you've thought, maybe if I answer right away, they'll see I still care. And what did you get? Maybe a short, cold reply. Maybe nothing at all. And suddenly you're left empty, embarrassed, weaker than before. That's the trap of immediate reaction. It feels like relief for a second, but leaves you in pieces afterward. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The same applies here. If the message does not carry clarity, why should your reply carry urgency? Why should you treat their casual curiosity like it's life or death? If they took their sweet time, if they made you wait, what does it say about your self-respect if you rush? Here's another way to see it. Think of your attention as currency. Every time you reply instantly, you spend it recklessly, handing out gold coins to someone who never saved a single one for you. But when you pause, when you delay, when you wait, you protect your fortune. You teach them that your attention isn't free, that it must be earned, that it comes on your terms now. Why is this so difficult? Because silence in the face of urgency feels unnatural. Because you've been conditioned to equate fast replies with care, with love, with proof of loyalty. But my friends, what's the point of proving loyalty to someone who didn't stay loyal to you? What's the point of proving care to someone who didn't care when you needed it? This is where you must break the cycle, where you must see that urgency doesn't create love. It only feeds ego. I'll give you a simple example. Imagine you left your front door wide open every time someone knocked. No matter who it was, a friend, a stranger, even someone who hurt you before, you rushed to let them in. How long would it take before people stopped respecting your space? How long before they assumed they could walk in and out as they pleased? That's what instant replies do. They open doors that should stay closed until someone proves they deserve entry. Now, some of you may be thinking, but if I wait too long, I'll look childish. No, my friends, childish is chasing what broke you. Childish is believing every hey equals a new beginning. Maturity is patience. Maturity is discernment. Maturity is understanding that not every message deserves your urgency. So here's what happens when you don't react instantly. The silence begins to work for you. They start refreshing the chat, wondering why you haven't answered. They begin questioning the hold they thought they had. Doubt starts creeping in. And doubt, to an ego that thrives on control, is poison. Suddenly, the roles reverse. Suddenly, they're the one waiting by the phone, staring at the screen, asking themselves why you haven't rushed like before. That shift of power isn't accidental. It's the fruit of discipline. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is a slave to the flesh." In your case, no one is free who is a slave to reaction. Freedom is choosing when to respond, if at all. Freedom is not jumping at the whistle. Freedom is silence that unsettles the one who thought they could always control you. So I leave you with this, my friends. I respond with presence, not with panic. Write it in the comments right now. Show yourself and show the world that you are no longer trapped in the cycle of instant reaction. That your presence has value and your timing is your weapon. Because when you stop reacting like before, you stop being predictable. And when you stop being predictable, you stop being controllable. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll go deeper into the power of silence itself, how waiting not only protects your dignity, but flips the entire game, leaving them desperate for the access they once took for granted. And trust me, folks, once you learn how silence speaks louder than any reply, you'll never fear that notification again. Number 3. Silence as the first move. Silence is a source of great strength. My friends, let that line sink in. Because when they finally break the silence with a casual, "Hey," or "I was just thinking about you," your instinct might be to rush, to give them the reaction they were hoping for. But what if I told you that the most powerful move you can make in that moment is no move at all? That silence itself, when used with discipline, isn't emptiness. It's a weapon. And not just any weapon. It's the kind that cuts deeper than words ever could. Picture this with me. Imagine a stage, and you've been standing on it for months, waiting for them to show up. The lights were on, the microphone was ready, but the seats in the audience were empty. Night after night, you stood there with your heart in your hands, waiting for applause that never came. And then, one day, when you've already walked off the stage and closed the curtain, they stroll back in, expecting the show to still be running. They send you that little text as if you've been waiting backstage this whole time. And here's the truth. They expect you to drop everything and come running out, perform like before, give them the same attention, the same effort. But instead, you stay behind the curtain. You don't rush. You don't play. You let silence fill the room. And do you know what happens? They hear it. They feel it. The silence echoes louder than any words you could have sent back. Now, here's the lie you've been told, that silence is weakness, that ignoring someone makes you petty, immature, or bitter. But no, my friends, silence is clarity. Silence is self-respect. Silence is the boldest statement you can make when someone who once ignored you suddenly remembers your name. Because think about it, if they took weeks or months to come back, why should you reply in minutes? Where is the respect in that? Why should your time, your dignity, your peace be handed over so quickly to someone who treated it as disposable? Marcus Aurelius said, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul. That's the essence of silence. The option not to engage, not to react, not to let your soul be troubled by someone else's sudden reappearance. Silence is the choice that says, I am no longer controlled by your timing. I move at my own pace now. Let's use another metaphor. Imagine you're playing poker. Every move you make, every card you show, reveals something about your hand. But what happens when you stay still, when you don't flinch, when you don't reveal. The other player starts to sweat. Their mind races. They project possibilities onto your silence, and that uncertainty destroys them more than any words could. That's exactly what happens when you don't reply. Your silence becomes their torment. They don't know if you've moved on, if you're busy, if you're ignoring them, or if you just don't care anymore. That silence creates a storm inside their head. But here's the difficult part. You must resist the urge, because silence feels uncomfortable at first. You'll think, what if they take my silence the wrong way? What if they think I don't care? What if they walk away for good? But let me ask you this. If silence is enough to make them walk away for good, were they really there for you in the first place? Or were they just there for the instant gratification of your attention? Anyone who truly values you will not vanish at the sound of silence. They'll stay. They'll prove themselves. They'll earn their way back in. The people who crumble at your silence are not the ones who love you. They are the ones who only loved your availability. They were addicted to knowing that no matter what, you'd always be there. And when that certainty disappears, panic sets in. Panic because they realize the game has changed. Panic because you're no longer where they left you. Panic because silence has stripped them of the one thing they had over you, control. And here's another truth. They'll call your silence arrogance. They'll say you've changed. They'll try to guilt you into replying. But remember, silence is not arrogance. It's maturity. It's saying, I no longer spend my time on half-efforts and vague gestures. Silence is a filter. It separates those who only want to test you from those who genuinely want to connect with you. I know what you're thinking, my friends. But silence is so hard. What if I lose them forever? But I'll flip that question on its head. What if losing them is the best thing that could happen to you? What if silence is not about losing them, but about finding yourself? Because let's be honest, didn't you already lose them the first time they disappeared? Haven't you already tasted the emptiness of their absence? And didn't you survive it? Didn't you rebuild yourself in that silence? Why then would you abandon the very silence that healed you? Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Don't waste it again on someone who shows up only when they're empty, only when they're curious, only when they need validation. Let silence protect your time. Let it guard your dignity. Let it remind you that you are not a vending machine for attention. You are not a lifeline for someone who abandoned you. You are a whole person, and your silence proves it. So here's your affirmation for today. My silence is not emptiness, it is presence. Write that down in the comments right now. Say it out loud if you have to. Let the world see it. Let yourself believe it. Because silence doesn't mean you're gone. It means you've chosen to be present with yourself instead of being consumed by someone else's games. And here's the beauty of it. The longer you hold that silence, the more powerful it becomes. Seconds turn into minutes, minutes turn into hours, hours turn into days, and with each passing moment, the balance of power shifts further and further into your hands. Because silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of control. Control over your emotions, control over your timing, control over the access to your life. So the next time their message flashes on your screen, don't see it as a command, see it as a question, and let your silence be the answer. Because nothing unsettles the human ego more than not being able to predict you, not being able to control you, not being able to count on your availability. That silence, my friends, is your first move, and it's the one they never saw coming. Stay with me, because in the next section, we'll uncover the difference between curiosity and clarity. why vague messages are not signs of love, but tricks of the ego, and how you can filter through the noise with one simple mindset. Once you understand this, you'll never confuse a hey for love again. Number 4. Curiosity versus clarity. Not everything that glitters is gold, and not every message is love. My friends, you've been there. The notification lights up, their name shows on the screen, and your heart skips. The words are simple. Hey, or maybe, I thought of you. At first glance, it looks harmless, even sweet. Your mind starts racing. Do they miss me? Have they changed? Is this the start of something real again? But pause, breathe, because here's the truth. Most of these messages are not born from clarity. They are born from curiosity. And confusing curiosity with clarity is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. Let's paint the picture. Imagine you're standing at a crossroads. One road is well lit, clear, straight. You can see exactly where it's heading. The other is foggy, winding, uncertain. You take a step onto the foggy road, hoping it will lead somewhere meaningful. But the further you go, the more lost you feel. That, my friends, is what happens when you follow curiosity disguised as connection. A vague hey is the foggy road. It pulls you in with possibility, but leaves you stumbling in the dark. Here's the lie people love to believe. If they reached out, it must mean something. But no, reaching out doesn't always mean regret. It doesn't always mean they care. More often than not, it means they're bored, or lonely, or in need of validation. They're not here to rebuild. They're here to check if the door is still open. And if you reply with open arms, you confirm their suspicion. You're still waiting. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Let's expand that. If it is not clear, do not trust it. If it is not consistent, do not invest in it. If their message doesn't come with clarity of intention, if it's not honest, direct, and grounded in change, then it's not love. It's curiosity, nothing more. And curiosity, my friends, is not a foundation for connection. It's a spark that burns out as quickly as it appeared. Think of it like this. A child pokes at a toy, not because they want to cherish it, but because they want to see if it still works. That's what many people do when they send those random, vague texts after disappearing. They poke at you to see if you still light up, if you'll still spin when they press the button. But is that love? No, that's experimentation, and you are not a toy. But why is it so easy to fall for? Because deep inside, you crave meaning. You want their message to be a sign, a hint, a clue that maybe they've woken up to your value. Your heart whispers, this time it's different. Nostalgia joins in, painting the past with warm colors, reminding you of the good times and hiding the scars. You start building castles in the air, filling in the blanks they left with the words you wish they had said. That's how curiosity deceives you. It lets you write the story you want to hear while they've written nothing at all. Let me break another lie. At least they thought of me. No, my friends, thinking of you is not the same as valuing you. A random thought at midnight is not the same as consistency at noon. Nostalgia is not the same as love. And testing if you're still available is not the same as commitment. When you confuse the two, you hand over your dignity for breadcrumbs. Now here's where Stoicism comes in. Epictetus said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And isn't that the truth? Because when you see that vague text, most of your suffering comes not from what they said, but from what you imagine it means. You imagine it's love. You imagine it's regret. You imagine it's the start of something better. But reality? It's just curiosity, just words on a screen without action to back them. Let's make this practical. You need a filter, a mental shield that separates curiosity from clarity. Here it is. Clarity is specific, consistent, and costly. Curiosity is vague, inconsistent, and cheap. If they message you with something like, "I miss you," "I know I hurt you, but I want to make things right. Can we talk?" That's costly. That takes vulnerability. That shows intent. That's clarity. But if they send "Hey" at 11:47 p.m. or "Thought of you today" without follow-up, without explanation, that's cheap. That costs them nothing. That's curiosity. And your response to curiosity must be silence, because silence is the tax for cheap effort. Now, I know some of you will say, but what if I miss my chance? What if this is the moment they're testing if I'll still care? My friends, real love doesn't arrive as a test. Real love doesn't need to trick you into proving your availability. Real love comes with clarity, with intention, with actions that align with the words. If it's vague, it's not love. If it's cheap, it's not worthy. If it's inconsistent, it's not growth. It's manipulation. Here's a metaphor for you. Imagine someone knocking at your door with no introduction, no reason, just knocking, lightly, casually. Do you open it? Do you let them in without asking why they're there? Or do you wait for them to speak, to explain, to prove they deserve entry? That's how you must treat vague texts. Don't throw the door wide open because someone rattled the handle. Demand clarity. Protect your space. And let's not forget, curiosity disappears the moment it's fed. If you reply right away, if you give them attention, their curiosity is satisfied and they vanish again. But if you hold silence, their curiosity grows into doubt. Doubt becomes discomfort. Discomfort becomes regret. That's the real power move. Not chasing, not clarifying, not proving, just being still and letting their curiosity eat away at their ego. Seneca once said, "If you would be loved, love." Notice what he didn't say. If you would be loved, test. Love doesn't test. Love doesn't vanish and return with half sentences. Love shows up with clarity. And if what they offer is curiosity, then what they offer is not love. So here's your affirmation for this section. I respond to clarity, not curiosity. Write it in the comments right now. Let it be a public declaration of your growth, a reminder to yourself, and an example for others. Show the world that you will no longer confuse crumbs for bread, sparks for fire, curiosity for love. Because once you master this filter, you stop falling for every "hey" that comes your way. You stop building castles in the air from vague words. You stop hurting yourself by imagining meaning where none exists. Instead, you stand firm, waiting not for curiosity, but for clarity. And trust me, my friends, that shift alone will save you from years of repeated pain. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll peel back the curtain on what actually happens inside their mind when your silence meets their curiosity. We'll explore the panic, the unraveling, the collapse of ego that begins when you no longer give them the instant reassurance they came back to collect. And once you understand that process, you'll see why silence doesn't just protect you, it flips the entire game in your favor. Number 5. The ego's panic when you don't react. Nothing destroys control faster than silence. My friends, let's get real about what happens when you don't react. When that little message, maybe just a "hey," maybe a weak "I thought of you," shows up on your screen and you don't rush to reply, something begins to unravel inside of them. And let me tell you, it's not peace, it's not patience, It's panic. Because the one thing their ego was counting on was your instant reaction. And when that doesn't come, their illusion of control starts to collapse. Think of it like this. Imagine someone standing in front of a mirror, admiring their reflection. Every time they step up, the mirror shows them exactly what they expect to see. Familiar, predictable, reliable. That's you, or rather that's who you used to be. Always reflecting their presence back to them with instant replies, instant attention, instant availability. But now imagine this. They walk up to the mirror again, expecting to see themselves. And the glass is black, empty, silent, no reflection. What happens? Confusion, frustration, even fear. That's what your silence feels like to their ego. It's the sudden loss of a reflection they always took for granted. Let's break a lie they love to believe. You'll always be there. That's why they vanished so casually before. That's why they ignored you for weeks. That's why they assumed they could come and go as they pleased. In their mind, you were a permanent fixture, like a lamp in the corner. Switch it on, switch it off, always there to light up when they needed it. But when you don't react, when your silence meets their reappearance, they realize the lamp isn't plugged in anymore. And that realization, that's poison to an ego built on control. Here's the psychology of it. Their ego thrives on certainty, certainty that you'll still pick up, certainty that you'll still care, certainty that your world still revolves around them. And when silence takes that certainty away, it creates a gap, and gaps breed questions, and questions breed doubt. Did they move on? Are they seeing someone else? Why didn't they reply like before? Have I lost them for good? And doubt, my friends, is the enemy of ego. Because ego survives on confidence, on knowing, on predicting. The moment you introduce uncertainty, the ego begins to crack. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a juggler. They're used to juggling 3 balls, perfectly in control, perfectly balanced. And suddenly, one ball doesn't come back down. It just vanishes. The rhythm is broken. The performance collapses. They start fumbling, panicking, because the one thing they depended on, the predictability, is gone. That's what you do to their ego when you don't react. You break their rhythm. You shatter the illusion that they're still holding all the strings. And here's where it gets even deeper. Many people who play these games don't miss you. They miss the feeling of control they had over you. They miss the power of knowing you'd always answer, always respond, always be available. They didn't love your presence. They loved your predictability. And when you withhold that, when you keep your silence, you take away the very drug their ego was addicted to. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about cruelty. This isn't about revenge. This is about truth. Because the truth is, they need to feel the weight of silence to understand what they lost. If you always rush back, they'll never feel it. If you always reply, they'll never question themselves. If you always react, they'll never respect you. But when you don't react, when you let silence do the work, you create the space where realization begins to grow. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that's the beauty of silence. You're not shouting, not cursing, not begging. You're not playing the same emotional games they played with you. You're simply holding your ground, calm, steady, stoic. And that calmness is devastating to someone who expected drama. Picture this. They send the message and stare at their phone. 1 minute passes, nothing. 5 minutes, still nothing. 10 minutes, doubt sets in. An hour, now they're refreshing the chat. A day, now they're wondering if you even saw it. 2 days. Now the panic is real. Their mind starts spinning stories, replaying memories, digging through excuses. Maybe they're just busy. No, maybe they've forgotten me. No, maybe they're with someone else. Do you see what's happening? Their own mind becomes their tormentor. Your silence doesn't just hold power, it weaponizes their own imagination against them. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." That's exactly what happens here. Your silence creates an empty space, and their ego rushes to fill it with fear. Fear of being replaced, fear of being forgotten, fear of no longer mattering. And for someone who once fed on your constant attention, that fear is unbearable. But let's be honest, why is it so hard for you to stay silent? Because deep inside, you want them to know you still care. You think, if I don't reply, maybe they'll think I'm bitter. Maybe they'll think I'm cold. Maybe they'll give up. But, my friends, think carefully. If silence is enough to make them give up, were they ever truly there for you? Or were they only there for the comfort of knowing you'd always fold? If a single unanswered text is enough to chase them away, they were never here for love. They were here for ego. And you deserve better than that. So here's the shift. Stop thinking of silence as ignoring. Start seeing silence as teaching. You're teaching them that access to you is no longer free. You're teaching them that your attention is not a vending machine they can use whenever they're bored. You're teaching them that if they want to come back, it must be with clarity, consistency, and courage, not curiosity, not crumbs, not ego. And let me add a bit of humor here. Replying instantly to a half-hearted "hey" is like giving someone front-row tickets to your concert because they hummed one of your songs in the shower. Does that make sense? Of course not. If they want to see the show, they better buy the ticket, show up on time, and respect the performance. Your silence is the boundary that demands respect. So what's the affirmation here? It's this: my silence shatters illusions. Write it in the comments right now. Say it to yourself when the phone buzzes, because that's exactly what happens. The illusion that they still have you, the illusion that you're still waiting, the illusion that nothing has changed. Silence destroys those illusions faster than any explanation ever could. And here's the motivation I want you to hold on to. Silence doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. It turns you from the anxious responder into the calm observer. It flips the roles. It puts the weight of doubt where it belongs, on them, not on you. And once you master that, once you see their panic instead of feeling your own, you'll realize that silence was never emptiness. It was always your greatest source of strength. Stay with me, because in the next section we'll go into what to do if you actually choose to reply. How to respond in a way that's calm, firm, and devastatingly clear, without giving your power away. And trust me, folks, that's where you'll see the real art of Stoicism in action. Number 6. If you reply, reply like this. A wise man speaks because he has something to say, a fool because he has to say something. My friends, if there's one moment where people fall hardest, it's right here. The message arrives, your silence has rattled them, their ego is stirring in panic, and you stand at a crossroads. Do you reply, or do you remain still? Now here's the truth. Sometimes replying is necessary. Not because they deserve your words, but because you deserve to prove to yourself that you can reply without losing your power. But the key is this. If you reply, it must not be with emotion, nostalgia, or longing. It must be with presence, with control, with clarity. Because your reply is not a bridge back to the past. It's a mirror that reflects your evolution. Let's imagine this together. Think of a courtroom. The person who vanished, ignored you, played with your presence. They are the defendant. You are the judge. The message they send is their weak attempt at an appeal. Now, as the judge, do you leap out of your chair, hug them and say, "Oh, thank you for showing up, let's forget everything"? No. You maintain posture. You sit in silence. And when you do speak, your words are deliberate, precise, weighted. That's how your reply must be. A verdict, not a love letter. Here's the lie people believe. If I reply warmly, maybe we can reconnect. If I show them I still care, they'll realize my worth. But my friends, if your warmth was enough to make them stay, they never would have left. If your sweetness was enough to spark regret, they wouldn't have ignored you. Replying with emotion only proves to them that nothing has changed, that you're still the same person waiting at the door, ready to let them walk back in without earning it. And that destroys the very power your silence worked so hard to build. So how do you reply without handing back your power? Simple. You reply with brevity, neutrality, and firmness. One sentence, no emojis, no desperate follow-ups, just a calm line that says everything by saying almost nothing. For example, "Hope you're doing well. Everything is fine here. Take care." That's it. Nothing more. And here's why it works. It offers no emotional food for their ego. They expected roses, and you handed them a stone. They expected longing, and you gave them distance. They expected vulnerability, and you showed them calmness. These replies are devastating, not because they are harsh, but because they are empty of everything their ego craves. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence. But when silence turns into a reply, the best answer is still calmness, because calmness unsettles them more than confrontation ever could. If you shout, they'll say you're bitter. If you pour out your heart, they'll say you're still hooked. If you ignore them forever, they may trick themselves into believing you still care, but are hiding. But when you reply with neutrality, there's no space for illusions. The message is crystal clear. You no longer belong to their control. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a thief returns to a house they once robbed. They sneak inside, expecting to find gold where they left it, expecting the same treasures to be lying around. But instead, they find empty rooms, clean walls, nothing of value left behind. The house is the same, but what's inside has changed. That's what your reply must feel like. They come expecting the same warmth, the same attention, the same version of you. But what they find is emptiness, maturity, and distance. And that emptiness hurts far more than anger ever could. Now, some of you may say, "But isn't that cold? Isn't that cruel?" No, my friends. What's cruel is disappearing without explanation. What's cruel is playing with someone's heart and returning only when it suits your ego. What you're doing isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's saying, if you want access to me now, you'll have to do more than send crumbs. And yes, it will be difficult. Because deep down, your emotions will scream for release. You'll want to say everything you've been holding in. You'll want to demand answers, cry out for explanations, ask why they disappeared. But let me ask you, what will answers give you? Closure doesn't come from their words. It comes from your decision to stop chasing. Explanations don't heal the wound. They often rip it back open. You don't owe them your vulnerability. You owe yourself your dignity. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." And that's what replying with emotion is. It's craving more from someone who already gave you too little. But when you reply with restraint, you prove that you are no longer poor in spirit. You are rich in discipline, abundant in self-control, overflowing with strength. Let me add a little humor here, folks. Replying emotionally to a vague, "hey," is like writing a 5-page essay in response to someone who waved at you across the street. Imagine that scene. Someone lifts their hand lazily, and you run over with paragraphs, memories, tears. Doesn't it sound absurd? Because it is. A casual wave doesn't deserve a confession, and a casual hey doesn't deserve your soul. So let's get practical. The rule is this: keep it short, keep it cool, keep it clean, never explain, never justify, never chase, because the moment you justify, you're giving them ammunition. The moment you explain, you're giving them leverage. The moment you chase, you're giving them victory. But when you stay neutral, you keep all the cards in your hand. And here's what happens next. They'll reread your message over and over, searching for meaning, for warmth, for hidden emotion. But they won't find it. They'll wonder, why are they so calm? Why didn't they react like before? Why do I feel like I'm the one being tested now? And in that moment, the roles reverse. Their ego, once inflated, now bends under the weight of doubt. That's why your reply must never be about them. It must be about you, about showing yourself that you can respond with strength, about proving to yourself that you've grown beyond desperation, about reclaiming control over the one thing they used to own, your emotions. So here's your affirmation for this section. I reply with firmness, never with longing. Write it in the comments right now. Let it be your declaration, your battle cry, your reminder that you no longer throw your soul into casual texts. That every word you type is chosen with wisdom, not desperation. And remember, my friends, your reply is not a bridge, it's a wall that says, the old version of me is gone. If you want to come closer, you'll have to climb, you'll have to work, you'll have to prove. Because nothing breaks an ego more than realizing the easy access is gone, that the game has changed, and that the person they once toyed with now replies like a stranger who owes them nothing. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll talk about one of the sneakiest traps they set, the moment they ask, "Why did you disappear?" I'll show you how to handle that question without giving away your power, without falling into explanations, and with one reply that flips the entire game on its head. Trust me, you don't want to miss that. Number 7. Why you don't owe explanations. Never waste your breath explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. My friends, this is where the test sharpens. After they've poked at you with vague messages, after your silence has unsettled them, after your cold, firm reply didn't give them what they wanted, they may try one last trick. They'll send the question that sounds innocent, but is anything but, "Why did you disappear?" And in that moment, your emotions will want to explode. You'll want to pour out everything you felt, all the nights you cried, all the times you begged for their attention, all the pain their silence caused you. But stop, breathe, because giving them explanations is the same as handing your power back into the very hands that dropped it before. Picture this with me. Imagine you walk out of a burning building, coughing, exhausted, barely alive. You rebuild your life, brick by brick, day by day. And one day the arsonist comes back, looks you in the eyes, and says, "Why did you leave the house?" Do you see how absurd that is? They created the fire. They vanished. They walked away. And now they want you to explain why you had to protect yourself. No, my friends, you don't explain healing. You don't justify survival. You don't defend yourself for choosing peace over pain. Here's the lie you must destroy. If I explain myself, they'll understand, they'll regret, they'll change. Wrong. Explanations don't change manipulators. They feed them. They take your truth, twist it, weaponize it, and use it against you later. If you tell them you disappeared because you felt ignored, they'll say you were too sensitive. If you say you left because you weren't valued, they'll say you demanded too much. If you explain your pain, they'll turn it into proof of their importance. That's the trap. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Apply that here. Waste no more time arguing why you left. Just be gone. Just live. Just embody the new you who doesn't owe anyone a presentation slide deck of your suffering. Your silence already explained everything. Your absence was the answer. If they couldn't hear it then, they don't deserve to hear it now. Think of your silence as a book. Every page was written during the nights you held back, the mornings you chose peace, the days you refused to chase. That book is closed now. And when they ask, "Why did you disappear?" they're asking you to reopen it, to hand them the chapters they ignored when they had the chance to read them. But here's the truth. Those chapters were never written for them. They were written for you, for your healing, for your rebirth. Why give them access to a story they didn't care about when it was unfolding? Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a student who skipped every class, ignored every lecture, and never opened the textbook. And on exam day, they walk up to the teacher and ask, "Why didn't you teach me?" That's exactly what this question is. They ignored the lessons, they ignored the silence, they ignored the distance, and now they want you to explain what was obvious all along. Here's the truth, my friends. Your silence was not an accident. It was a decision to step away from what was breaking you, a decision to choose yourself, a decision to protect your dignity. And decisions don't need explanations. They are explanations. To justify them is to cheapen them. To explain them is to weaken them. And yet, I know what you're feeling. That pull inside that says, if I tell them why, maybe they'll finally see my worth. Maybe they'll finally understand what they lost. But let me be blunt. People who didn't value you when you were present will not value your story when you're absent. People who didn't listen to your voice before won't suddenly hear your explanation now. And if they do, it's not because they care. It's because they want to measure how deeply they affected you. Seneca said, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." Their question is the external thing. Your urge to explain is your judgment. But when you shift your perspective, you realize you're not disturbed anymore, because you see their question for what it is, not curiosity about your healing, but a probe into their own importance. Let me add some humor here. Their "why did you disappear" is like someone showing up late to dinner by 3 hours, sitting at an empty table and asking, "Why did you finish eating without me?" It's absurd, folks. You don't owe them a rundown of your hunger. You don't owe them the recipe of the meal. You don't owe them a single explanation. You ate because you were starving. You disappeared because you were burning. That's it. So how do you respond if you do choose to reply? With clarity, not with confession. One line, firm, simple. The kind that shuts doors, not opens them. For example, "I found myself." That's it. Not 10 paragraphs. Not a breakdown of pain. Just a statement that reminds them your silence was not weakness, it was discovery. And that statement stings more than any emotional essay ever could. Because it tells them you didn't vanish out of bitterness. You vanished out of growth. And here's where the panic sets in for them, because when they realize your absence wasn't a cry for attention, but a conscious decision, their ego shatters. They expected guilt. They expected regret. They expected you to justify yourself. Instead, they find certainty. They find someone who didn't just survive the silence, but thrived in it. They find someone unreachable, and for an ego built on control, that realization is devastating. So here's your affirmation for this section. I don't owe explanations. I owe myself peace. Write it in the comments right now. Let it echo through your fingers as you type. Let it be the reminder you see every time you're tempted to justify your decisions. Because peace is not found in convincing others. It's found in walking away without a word. And remember this, my friends, your silence was not a mistake. It was healing. It was liberation. It was the beginning of your new chapter. And those who question it now are not seeking truth. They are seeking control. Don't give it back. Don't hand them the map to the journey they never walked with you. Keep your peace. Keep your clarity. Keep your silence. Stay with me, because in the next section, we'll go even deeper into what happens when you become unreachable, not as a tactic, not as a game, but as the natural result of growth. And I'll show you why nothing crushes an ego more than realizing the version of you they once toyed with no longer exists.